Welcome back to how to use the cosine rule. We are looking at the second version of the cosine rule. And this is the formula cos A equals b squared plus c squared minus a squared divided by 2bc. And we use this to find a missing angle. Okay? Now again, this is an unpleasant to look at formula, but if you label your sides correctly, substitute in your information, play around on the calculator, you will get out the right answer. You just need to take it one step at a time. Now before I go any further, I'd like to show you this, which I found in the depths of my folders. This is a formula sheet for National 5. Now what you'll see is, if I hide those ones, because we haven't covered those yet, we have looked at area of a triangle, but this one here, the cosine rule, looking at it on the formula list quite often confuses people, and it's because what they see is cosine rule, then quite frankly a word vomit of mathematics, okay? And the bit that they miss, that they don't quite pay attention to, is this word here. Or, okay? And it isn't actually one equation, it's actually two equations side by side. So we have looked at this one here in the last video, and this is the one we use for sides. However, this one is the one we use for angles. And the way I find it easiest to remind myself which is which is that this one has cos at the start, and we know cos, sine, tan, they are so integral to angles. So the fact we have cos, which is definitely an angle thing, A at the start of this one, is the way I remember it's for angles, okay? You get given both equations. The important thing is not panicking when you see them in that blurb all together, okay? But we are having a look at how to solve using that second formula on the sheet. I told you before, how do you recognise it? And the way I recognise that I need to use the cosine rule to find angle x is that I'm using all three sides. Equally again though, some people will recognise that they've got the angle in the middle of other sides. But I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to label my angles and my sides first. Again, I still only have angle A. If you look through that whole formula, the only angle I have is A. So that's what that corner, that angle X is going to be. Which means the opposite side is little a. And again, what I do to B, I do to C. So it does not make a difference which is B, which is C. Remember, opposite side, opposite angle matching. Okay. I'm going to make my list because I like my list, it makes me happy. So I have A, B, C, big A, big B, big C, don't know. But this is what I'm looking for, is angle X. A is 20, B is 17, C is 18. I've written out my list, all the data is really clearly written down for me. So the question is now putting it into the formula. And you carefully, the most careful you have ever copied a formula, as I keep saying to you, copy this down from the front of a test, or in the case of the worksheet I'm giving you this week, the front page of the worksheet is a formula list. Just so you don't forget. But there's our formula. B is 17, so we have 17 squared. C is 18, so we're adding 18 squared. A, 20, take away 20 squared. this is going to be divided by 2 times 17 times 18. Once you've got to this point, we are throwing things in the calculator. Again, you have 2 choices. Either you do this in 2 halves, which if you are not on a Casio, I recommend. It means you're much less likely to make a calculator error. So you type it all in and you get 213. And then I would type in the bottom, so we've got 2 times 17 times 18. So our denominator is going to be 612. You can leave it as a fraction, okay? You don't actually have to simplify it at this point because we've got to remember what we're looking for. We're looking for this angle x, which is in cos A. Again, let's just make sure we've relabeled that cos x. We want x. At the minute we have cos x. So we do the same thing we did in SOHCAHTOA, where when cos goes to the opposite side, it takes the opposite sign. And that is our little -1, our cos inverse. So you can take cos inverse of that entire fraction and you'll still get your answer. Now, I realised in the last video it was a bit darker, so I'll show you again how to find the inverse. If you look at your calculator, you have sine, cos, tan. If you look above them, you'll see in yellow or in another colour, sine inverse, cos inverse, tan inverse. The way you know which button to press is the colour matches quite often. So I've got sine inverse in yellow. I hit shift, which is the yellow one, so sine inverse. Cos inverse, shift, cos. Type in your fraction. Remember, you can just put it in as a divide, you don't have to put it through the fraction function. And you get out an angle, which you write down in full, even though it takes you longer. And then you get to round. So our answer for that angle there is 69.6. Now I think that's quite important because the SQA and other examining boards will tell you this diagram has not been drawn to scale. Now if you'd just seen that, you may think that it is a right angle triangle. But when you actually do the maths on it, you find that it's a little bit smaller than a right angle. It's about 70 degrees, a right angle is 90 degrees. Again, what are our steps in this problem? Step 1 and step 2 can happen either way around, but you copy that formula and you label those sides. If you're somebody that likes to be confident and take it one step at a time, I really recommend doing this list. It will come in useful later if you're happy writing this list now. Substitute in your information. If you've not got a snazzy calculator that'll do it all in one go, do it one step at a time. It's much safer doing it that way. We've got cos x, we want x, swap it across, put it in the calculator, round. I'm just going to draw attention, remember your degrees, has that little dot there. So that is how we do the cosine rule.